What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at a new One Piece promo pack which is coming along, and like tends to happen in Japan, and this makes me incredibly happy, in this promo pack you get yourself all the cards, and they're all brand new cards. We've got a blue leader Luffy, that looks pretty good. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a bunch of very fun things going on that make me very, very happy indeed. So let's start off with that blue leader Luffy, shall we? Oh, also as a side note, and I know I'm not the only one that's pointed this out, but it does seem not that coincidental that all of these characters feature pretty heavily in the Netflix live-action One Piece, because, you know, you've got Arlong and Mihawk and Garp in there, and it just really seems like they've got... These are basically all the main characters, except for maybe Buggy, I suppose, from the Netflix series. Doesn't seem like a coincidence. As a side note, I am loving the Netflix series. I just think, I'm 6 out of 8 episodes in, and I just think it's fantastic. So Luffy then, what have we got? Well, it's a monocolor leader, so we've got a standard 5-cost 5,000 power, and then we've got ourselves Dawn X1. When attacking, if you've got 3 or fewer cards in your hand, draw a card. I have done the translations here myself, although I have checked with a lovely Orange Samurai D, who has checked with people on the Discord, so thank you very much. As a side note, they're being given out at the moment at One Piece Card Game Festa Autumn Junior Special, but we know the deal, these are going to be given out in more places. So this is a blue leader Luffy that draws a card when you attack with a Dawn card on, and you have 3 or fewer cards in your hand. And look, draw power is good. In the One Piece TCG, draw power generally sucks. It's not a good game for draw power, not like something like Pokemon. So basically, if you can get a decent amount of draw power, it is very much worth going after. I like this a lot. Bearing in mind that Emporio Ivankov has seen like a lot of play, especially in the OPO2 meta. Emporio Ivankov saw a lot of play because it's got not terrible draw. Here, and that one you had to go down to 0 cards in hand, which was, shall we say, not ideal. And look, here, I know you've got to have 3 or fewer cards in hand, blah, 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 etc. I get it. And you've got to attack, and you've got to put a Dawn on, and it's not always the easiest thing to get rolling. But the fact of the matter is, putting a Dawn on and attacking is not that big a deal. And being able to draw an extra card every single turn, I do think people are going to play this. I do think there is a fair bit of potential here. I like this very much indeed. Now, Arlong comes in here, because, you know, why would we not have Arlong? Very prominent in the Netflix TV show. 3 cost, 4,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And then we got Dawn X1. When attacking, if you have 4 or more cards in your life, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck. It's not bad. Like, it's not phenomenal or anything like that, but if you can catch your opponent with a low hand size, yes, they get a choice, and that's the big thing that brings this card down, the fact that your opponent chooses which card they get rid of, but they still have to get rid of a card from their hand. And if you can catch them with a low hand size and they've got to get rid of a card they really like, this can be a very good thing. If you're playing some kind of disruption deck, this could end up making a difference, which I like. So yeah, this is cool. Now, Usopp comes in here. We've got 2 cost 3,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And on play, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put them at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. I like this. Now, obviously, there is, if you're playing blue here, there is a pretty obvious combo with the Romance Dawn Don Quixote do Flamingo. Because, of course, that's got the one whereby when you are attacking, you get to look at the top card of your deck, and if it's a 7 Warlords of the Sea character with a cost of 4 or less, you can play it rested. And we've seen there are other things that can use that. You know, things like Perona was very good when they saw a lot of play in the OPO1 meta. I get it. I'm just saying, effects along those lines, this will be pretty good. But even outside of specific effects like that, just the fact that you can rearrange the cards on top of your deck and find out the cards you want. Like I say, the draw in One Piece sucks, generally speaking. So you look at the top 5 cards of your, and searching is borderline non-existent outside of look at the top 3 or 5 cards of your deck and find something. So here, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and if there's anything you really want there, just leave it on top of your deck. You don't get it now, annoyingly, but you can have it the next time you draw a card, which, bearing in mind with Luffy you're going to be drawing cards, I think this is another one that can make your deck a lot more consistent, and I like it. Now, Sanji comes along, free cost 2,000 power. We don't often see power lower than cost, so there better be something good going on here, and there kind of is. It's a blocker. Now, 2,000 power blocker is not particularly good, and honestly, free cost 2,000 power blocker, nah mate. I don't like it, we've got better cheap blockers. However, Don X1, during your turn, if you have 3 or fewer cards in your hand, plus 4,000 power. And again, if you're playing the Luffy deck here, you are going to be playing a deck which tries to keep like 2 or 3 cards in hand. A deck where you are constantly cycling through cards. That is what you need if you're going to be playing this. And then you got a free cost 6,000 power blocker. Bearing in mind your average vanilla character is free cost 5,000 power counter plus 1,000. If you can keep a hand size of 3 or less, this is free cost 6,000 power counter plus 1,000 and blocker. That is flat out ridiculous phenomenal if you can keep a low hand size. And again, you are keeping a low hand size, but Luffy will help you in terms of replenishing it when you need it. Now, Shanks is one of the bigger boys in this particular set. We got 7 cost, 9,000 power, and then no counter. And when attacking, you may discard any number of cards from your hand, and for each card discarded, you gain 1,000 power. Now, firstly, this is phenomenal in the late game, because if your opponent doesn't have a blocker, if they have a blocker, they can thwart you, of course, but if they don't have a blocker, you can basically just whack a bunch of Don on here, discard like your entire hand, and then laugh as you pull off one of the biggest attacks they've ever seen. But also, you can lower your hand size here, which will allow you to draw a card with Luffy, which will allow you to activate the extra power on Sanji, as an example. It all fits together really rather nicely. Now, Dracula Mihawk's got 6 cost 7,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And we've got Don X1. This character cannot be KO'd in battle by slash attribute characters. And we're going to go slightly out of order here because we got Monkey the Garp, which is exactly the same, 6 cost 7,000 power, counter plus 1,000. I say exactly the same, that's not strictly true. Dracula Mihawk is a 7 Warlords of the Sea and Monkey the Garp is a Navy, but other than that, exactly the same. Dracula Mihawk cannot be KO'd by slash attribute characters. Monkey the Garp cannot be KO'd by strike attribute characters. Now, this is a mechanic we've not seen enough of. Like, we're 5 sets in at this stage, plus a whole bunch of starter decks promos. You know, we've had 10 starter decks, a lot of promos. You know, these are promos. Well, we start with Luffy at 47, and then we go up to Zoro at 56. So, you know, 56 promos, 10 starter decks, 5 sets. We have not seen enough of taking advantage of these attributes in the top right-hand corner. We've seen a handful of cards, but they really don't tend to do very much. And it's kind of weird when they come back up again. So here we got them coming in again. And again, I mean, sometimes it will work. Sometimes there will be specific matchups where you're worried about a particular deck that plays predominantly strike characters, so you can play Garp so they can't KO you. Or the same thing with Slash and you play Mihawk. I love this idea, but the reality is we've had these attributes since the beginning of the game, since the first lot of starter decks, and as it stands at the moment, we've not made very much of them. So I love that this is in here, but it's not had much of an impact yet. Now, Nami comes in, 1 cost 1,000 power, counter plus 2,000. Always nice to have counter plus 2,000. And if you have 3 or fewer cards in hand, return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less to its owner's hand. And it's hand not decked so they can replay it, boo hiss, etc. But they still have to replay it if they want that character. This is a classic blue skill. Get rid of one of your opponent's characters on the board, play a bit of keep away. It's what blue decks generally tend to do, but this is a decent skill on a 1-cost character that's got counter plus 2,000. That's really very good. Once again, you have to have 3 or fewer cards in hand, but that's the same as Sanji's skill, it's the same as your leader Luffy's skill, and you've got Shanks to try and lower down your hand size if it ever does get a bit too big. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, this sounds okay by me. Now, obviously, we got ourselves a character Luffy in addition to the leader. Be weird if we didn't. And this is the artwork from the front of the pack. Really nice artwork. 4 cost, 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And on play, you may trash 2 cards from your hand. Your opponent chooses a character they own and places it at the bottom of their deck. And all I can tell you with this one is, it's cool, but your opponent has the choice. So what you need to do is play this, hopefully at a time when your opponent doesn't actually have much of a choice. Like the classic example I've given before with cards like this is after a Kaido. Your OPO 1 Kaido that's like a literal full-on board wipe. At that point, your opponent's only going to have 1 card in play. It's going to be Kaido, because Kaido KOs literally everything else. So you then play this. Your opponent doesn't actually have a choice. They have to get rid of their Kaido. And then both sides have been board wiped, but you've got Luffy down and they've got nothing down, and maybe you can start rolling from there. Very situational. I don't think it's a card you want to be playing blindly, because there are a million 1-cost support characters out there, like the Nami we've just seen in this video here, that your opponent's going to be like, oh fine, I'll get rid of that, nobody cares, it's already done its job. But there are going to be times that this will be worth it. And then obviously we need to finish off with Roronoa Zoro, because why would we not have a Roronoa Zoro card? Seriously. If you look at this, it is just the main characters from the Netflix film, and Buggy, or not the film, it's a series, it's not a film, it's very much a series, but Buggy's been left out, and Kobe as well. Okay, fine, they've had to leave some acts, they're only choosing 10, Kobe and Buggy probably the most egregious omissions, but again, who would you cut instead of them? This seems like a good mix. Anyway, what does this Zoro do? 4 cost, 6,000 power, no counter, which is a little bit sad, and then, on play, you can pay 2 Don to return a character with a cost of 5 or less to their owner's hand. And that can be one of your characters that you use for, their skill, or it can be one of your opponent's characters to get them off the board playing a bit of keep away. Once again, this is pretty gosh darn cool. Oh, and you might have noticed something at this point. The monkey and the Zoro might sound a little bit familiar. They are actually exactly the same as the Netflix cards I showed you the other day. Same characters, same promo numbers, same effects, same everything. Now, in the past, I have said things with One Piece like, well, because we've got the other version of the promo, we don't necessarily need every version. Bandai have been great at giving us every version of a promo, even where we haven't necessarily needed them. So I'm still expecting the Netflix cards to make a release in English, but I just wanted to point out these were the same cards, and that's kind of cool. But we looked at these in great detail the other day, so we don't need to go too much into them now. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of these cards. I want to know how excited you are. I want to know anything you want to tell me. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.